So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this dress. Someone sent me on Instagram. So the first thing we're going to do here is, since this dress has a ruffle at the end, is an A-line maxi dress, but at the end it has ruffle. So you're going to check, I'm using a Akara fabric, and by the width it cuts by 45, which is not going to be, it might not be enough for me. So now I'm going to cut it by the width. Remember, your fabric runs this way, right, all the way to the end, how it runs. So I'm using the width of the fabric to fold it. So what I did here is just to fold the fabric into two. You see the fold on this end, and then the width that I'm using here is basically the widest part of my body, which is my hip. My hip divided by 4 is about 12 inches, which is somewhere here, and then I have extra 5 inches here. This extra 5 inches is going to be my A-line, because this is basically an A-line halter neck A-line dress, A-line maxi dress with a ruffle at the end. So that's what this is. So it depends on you how you want to how extra that you want here. You can make yours 6. If you want it more flowier at the end, you can make it 6 inches or more there. So I'm using 5 inches extra. So the next thing you're going to do is to measure the length that you need from your shoulder to where you want it to be before you add the ruffle. So from your shoulder to somewhere maybe on your knee or just right below your knee. So for me, that's about 43 inches. You're going to add extra 2 inches to it. 1 inch is going to be seam allowance, and then the other 1 inch is going to be for the breast that we are going to be adding here. So that's 2 inches is what you're going to add in front, but the back is not going to have any darts. So this extra 2 inches you're adding to the length is just for the 2 side breast dart that we are going to be adding to the front panel, but there's no breast at the back. So for the back, so let's start. You're going to come up here. This is where my length falls in, right? My 43 plus the extra 2 inches, which is 45, is on this line, and then I insert my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 16, divided by 2 is 8. Marked it down here, and then I fixed in my armhole, divided by 2. My armhole is 20, divided by 2 is 10. I marked it this way, gave it a curve. So just how you normally put in your normal basic bodice, right? But now we are going to mark what we need. So I came down here 1 inch and connected it to these 3 inches of distance. So remember, we're starting with our front body. So guys, you see how her own is. So you're going to go ahead and measure from your shoulder to where you want this to be. It depends on you. So I'm thinking I'm going to use like 5 inches or 5.5 here. So I'm going to come down from this tip where my shoulder meets this line here and mark that 5.5. So guys, as you can see how this one is also. Because someone sent me just that particular one made in Akara, so I had to go look up how this neckline looks. So it depends on you what you want yours to be. You see how this one is, and you see this one here is like this. You see how this one is also. So you see this one came down a little bit at the neckline. It came down a little bit here. So it depends on you what you want yours to look like. If you want yours to come down a little bit more and then you add your band, it depends on you. So for this here, I'm just going to try to use like 5.5 inches from the shoulder tip here. And then, so guys, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in my bust measurement, which is going to be about 42 inches, which divided by 4 is going to be 10.5. I'm going to add extra 1 inch to it for my seam allowance. So that's going to be 11.5. I'm going to mark it here, and then after marking it, I'm going to come down here so this is the line of my armhole. So from this line that I made here, I'm going to come down ½ an inch on this line somewhere here, and then I'm going to connect it to this point. So connect it directly from the point of this here and just mark it all the way to this here. So I'm just going to blend it in like this. I'm bringing this a little bit down here by ½ an inch because you don't want this here right into your armhole. You want it a little bit open, like you want it free a little because of the band that is also going to go around there. So you just don't want it digging into your skin. So I came down a little bit, like ½ an inch from there, and then I connected it this way. From this picture, you will see that it narrows a little almost at the, it's fitted at the bust, and then it looks like it narrows a little at the waist, and then it flares out from the hip. So this is basically A-line. So what I'm going to do now is I came down from my shoulder to my waist measurement, which is 17.5, then my shoulder to my hip measurement, which is 25.5, and then my waist measurement divided by 4 plus extra 1 inch. You can also add ease to this here. So at the waist, you can add your your waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches, that's 1 inch of ease and 1 inch of seam allowance, and then mark it, right? And then the same thing for your hip measurement divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches, 1 inch of ease and 1 inch of seam allowance. So somewhere here, and then you're going to just connect it together. So connect it from this point to this point, and then from your bust to this point. You can also add the same seam allowance on your bust. Ease, like after adding your seam allowance, you can also add ease if you don't want it fitted on the bust. So the next thing we are going to do is to dart our bust. So to dart the bust, you're going to come down here by 2 inches from this point here. Where this line crosses over to this bust line, you're going to come down here 2 inches on here, and then to mark now is from my shoulder to my bust, and my shoulder to my bust is about 11.5. I'm going to mark it here, and then I'm going to mark in my nipple to nipple measurement, and that's 8 divided by 2 is 4. I'm going to mark that here. This is going to help me know where I'm going to move my dart to. So my dart is going to stop 1 inch before it gets to my bust. So I'm going to just 1 inch before it gets to the intersection of this line. So that's going to be somewhere 1 inch away from this, is somewhere here. So somewhere at this point is where my dart is going to stop. So anywhere from this is where my dart is going to stop, because 1 inch away from this point, because this point is from my shoulder to my nipple, and then from here, then I have my nipple to nipple distance divided by 2. So I have that so if I'm wearing it now, I'm imagining that this is where my nipple is going to be, right on this point here, right where this crisscross is. So my dart now is going to come from this side and meet up, but it's going to stay 1 inch away, because if you point it directly into your nipple, it's going to be pointy. So you're going to stay 1 inch away from that. So I'm going to mark half an inch on each side, because remember we added 1 inch on our side for the seam allowance for this, right? So for the seam allowance, and then extra 1 inch for our darting on the side. So we're going to go ahead and mark half an inch on each side. So half an inch on this side here, half an inch on this side here. So you see half an inch here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to connect this here directly to this line. The center line, you're going to connect it directly to this line, and then you're going to connect your half an inch also, blend it into that line, and then you're going to connect the other half an inch, blend it into that line. So this is going to be your breast dart coming in here. I know you might be thinking that this dart looks very long, but remember you still have your seam allowance here. Remember, there's still 1 inch seam allowance here. So let's say when you take away that 1 inch of seam allowance now, you see, this is the only dart that will be left inside your cloth. So this is going to be tucked into your seam. This is the only dart that will be visible on your cloth. This is the only dart you're taking away. I know it looks long now, but it's because there's still seam allowance here. So that's basically how you're going to mark your dart. So once you've gotten the breast dart, connect from your hip down to wherever the length of your dress is going to be. So you're going to just connect it down to the angle. If the A-line still moves forward this way, you can move it forward this way. It depends on you how you want to make how you want your A-line to be. So you can move your A-line wider than. So guys, remember when you pinch this out, you've taken away 1 inch. So this dress will be shortened, right? It will be shortened by 1 inch. So, but remember we added extra 2 inches, 1 inch of seam allowance and that extra 1 inch of the darting. So let's say this is the extra 1 inch of the darting, and then the 1 inch of the seam allowance is somewhere here, which this here is going to be the length of the dress. So this extra 1 inch seam allowance is for this dart that will be taken out. If you didn't add this 1 inch and you pinch this up, this dress will be shortened and it will be shorter than the back. So that's why we added 2 inches. So that extra 1 inch that is for the darting is now what you're going to blend it into this line. So you're going to take it now and blend it this way, and then you're going to cut it off. So you're going to blend it this way into this line like this, so that when this dart pinches up like this and it goes up, this line falls in this way. So you're going to go ahead and cut off the excess this way and blend. You're going to cut it off because this is the main line of our dress length, right? Our dress length plus our seam allowance. So you're just going to cut it off so that once you pinch off this dart, once you take away this 1 inch, the line will look straight again, except this time it will to give you that dart at the bust, but it will look straight again, because remember the 1 inch is blended in. It didn't come up all the way to this part. It's just on the side, just like how the breast dart is on the side. To cut out on this panel is just to cut this line down here, cut out this way, cut this way down. Don't forget your 1 inch of dart that is down here, and then you're going to angle it all the way and then blend into this line. That's how you're going to cut it. So you're starting somewhere here, down, down, down this way, and then come down to this point here and then go up all the way this way. If you also don't want the waist to go in, you can just connect your bust to your hip and then your hip to the A-line. You can also make it that way if you don't want the waist that goes in this way. You can connect your bust to your hip and then just remember to put in your breast dart so it will have some shape to it at the bust area. So going to, because this is a straight line, right? How your seam would normally end in a straight line like this, right? In a straight line like this is how your seam would have ended if there's no breast dart. But because of this breast dart now, you're supposed to angle your seam to end this way, right? It's supposed to end like in an angle like this, so that when you take away this 1 inch here, it blends into this 1 inch goes up now, and the straight line becomes a straight line again without this angle coming up this. So now for the back panel, you're going to cut it without this angle, any angle there. So you're going to just use your normal seam line without this part here. You're not going to be putting any dart at the back, so there's no need for that. So use your normal length here without this extra 1 inch you added for this breast dart to cut out the back. And then the other change you're going to be making at your back panel is on top of this part here. It depends on you. If you want your back to be cut straight like this, just for it to run straight across the back, you can do that. And then your two seams, your two straps will just go down straight and join. Or if you want, you can make it so that in such a way that your strap will just go up and wrap around your neck like this one here. Or you can make it in such a way that your strap will also go the same way that your front strap is going. So that means when you go to cut it, so there are different ways you can do this now. So you can cut it in a straight line like this, straight across. Then you're just going to start from your armhole and mark a straight line straight like this to go across your back. Then you know that you're looking for this type of this one here that goes right straight across your back. If you want the one that will look exactly like your front panel, which means the back is going to also have that same band, then you're going to go ahead and cut it straight like this, the same way you're cutting the front. So that's basically what I'm trying to say. So now we are going to go ahead and cut out the panel. So the same thing you cut for the back is the front is what you're cutting for the back, except the darting and then the change of the neckline, however you want the neckline to be. So now I replicated this here in a smaller pattern. So you see, this is my smaller pattern here. Guys, the only difference now is that if you see my front and my back, I'm trying to, I just cut it out exactly so you guys can see. But you see the bottom here has that extra, just imagine this to be that extra 1 inch. If you can look closely, you will see that extra fabric here. That's my extra seam, and you see how we blended it to the end. So this is my front here. You see, this is the extra 1 inch I'm telling you, and it's going to blend into the length of your dress. This is my back panel, this is the front panel. So now the first thing you're going to do is to go ahead, open up your front panel and give it a dart at the two sides of the bust, right? After giving it the dart, the next thing you're going to do is to, it depends on you, you can change the neckline here. I'm still going to make a different video and explain these 3 types of neckline and how you're going to sew them. So you can go ahead and cut off this excess now and have it this way. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing for this video, but I'm still going to make a different video and show you guys how to do the 3 different necklines. So guys, I've gone ahead and put in my breast dart. As you can see, this is it here. This will help your cloth not to puff up at the top part, because it's pulling it, the dart is helping to pull this top part to the side, so, and it will give it more shape. So you see the bust part here, if I open it up now, you see the dart is almost giving it like a cup so that it can fall on your body this way, right? So now the next thing I'm going to do now is to you see the edges here, I just folded it inside like this and sewed it down. You see, this is what I did. And then for the strap, what I did is to just cut out like width of about 5 inches and made like a belt with it. So this is it here. So width of 5 inches, and then I used half an inch to sew it and then flipped it inside out. So I have 2 inches on each side is what you have when you're done, right? And then the next thing you're going to do is just to take that belt here. I'm going to just take it here and sew it on top of this here. So I'm going to sew with this one facing this way. and then I'm going to take the other one and sew it facing this way. So guys, this is what mine looks like now. So what I have to do is to just go ahead and take my back panel. So you see, for my back panel, I use bias to finish it up here, and then all I have to do is to just take the back panel and join the two sides together. And then when I'm done, I'm going to attach this strap straight like this, down like this. So this is the method I'm using for this one here. If you want, you can also use the one that crosses over again, like the one on the picture at the moment. You can also use the one that will just go around your neck like this, right? Around your neck, and then you just close up the back, and it's just going to be this way. The back is going to be open, so this is just going to go around your neck. Guys, this is what it looks like at the moment. So you see that breast, this is why it's important, because you can see your breast is supposed to be here at this point. So you see it keeps puffing up. If I pull it down, it keeps coming back up because your breast is supposed to be at somewhere here. So that's why I insist on putting the breast down. So now you're going to go ahead and put in the ruffle at the end. So you're going to check where the length of the ruffle that you need, the gather at the end. If you look at the picture, you'll see that there's a ruffle there, the gather at the end of the long dress. So wherever it is that the long dress, let's say your long dress stopped at your just below your knee, so you're going to measure from that point down to the floor or your ankle, whatever length is going to be. You check it, and then you're going to, let's say maybe it's like 20 or 16 inches more, you're going to add extra 1.5 to it, 1 inch of folding the end, and then half an inch of joining it to this pattern. So you're going to measure around the opening at the end of your clothes, and the width of the fabric you're going to be using will be whatever you get times 2.5 is what you're going to use. But then for the length, you just have to measure the remaining length that you need until it gets to your ankle or to the floor, whatever length you desire, and then you're going to add 1.5 to it. So 1.5 inches. So so this is what I'm going to be using for mine. I'm going to go ahead and gather it around the end of this dress. See it here, this is what it looks like. So you can see this is it, and then you go ahead and fold the end of your clothes. This is the back. So that's basically it. The length of the strap is just, you're going to cut just long enough strap to run through this here and cross over, and then when you fix it in, you can cut off the excess. So that's basically how I did mine. So you see, with the way I folded it, it made the inside seem to be clean. So that's basically how I did this. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And guys, remember, this is just based on my understanding. I know there might be a better way or a different method of doing it, but someone sent me the picture on Instagram, and based on looking at the picture, this is like, if I were to make it for someone, this is the method I would use. So, and the person didn't send me the back of the cloth, so this is based on my own understanding of the picture. So thank you guys so much, and